Guys, throughout the years, we've seen a lot of games. And I mean a lot of games come out. And we've seen gaming change and adapt over the years from arcade machines to home consoles to virtual reality on treadmills. And yet the age old question remains, what are the greatest games of all time? Well, after countless years of research, of sleepless nights, and sweating through ranked lobbies, I think I finally found the answer. But before I go any further with that, I want to say a quick thank you to all you guys for reaching 100 subscribers on the channel. So this is going to be my 100 subscriber special of sorts for you guys. And to clarify, this is going to be my top 5 games of all time, which is totally not a subjective opinion, and it totally, definitely should be taken 100% literally. Okay, now that we got that out of the way, without further ado, this is the top 5 greatest games of all time. Coming in at number 1 is a little known banger, Pac-Man World 2. Okay, I know this one's a little weird, but hear me out, alright? This game to me is a timeless classic. And it also has the important distinction of being the first game I ever played when I was just 3 years old, which would make it what kickstarted my gaming obsession and left you all stuck with me making these videos, and to my parents' immeasurable disappointment in my life decisions. This, while dated now, came out in the early 2000s during the height of the 3D platformer era, so of course Pac-Man would have to get in on the action. And as disturbing as it was to see Pac-Man in 3D,
Brother,
the game fully made up for it for its kick-ass gameplay. And I still love this game to this day. I mean, boss battles in a 3D platformer? What the shit? And the thing that stands out the most to me is the variety in the level design. I mean, you get to go from a peaceful village to treetops to operating a submarine to a fucking volcano island. This is an era where games and medias loved having the final area being a goddamn volcano. And there was just so much to love that made this game so memorable. And each level had so much to explore and collect. And if you had collected all the tokens, then you could even go to the in-game arcade and play all the original Pac-Man games. Which is funny now, but at the time it showed how far games had gotten from the arcade time into the early console era. And sadly, despite all my searching, I haven't been able to get my hands on another copy or find anything to play this on to relive the magic of the past.
He exists now, only in my memory.
But nevertheless, this game will always have a special place in my heart for being my first. Coming in next is Star Wars Battlefront 2. For me and for a lot of other people, the Star Wars Battlefront series was our first dive into the feeling of all-out war. And being set in the Star Wars universe, my favorite movies as a kid, I was absolutely hooked from the start. With that awesome starting menu showing off the showdown between good and evil, playing all the iconic Star Wars tracks, that I would show you, but I don't want to piss off the mouse again. I mean, can we get a minute to appreciate this amazing soundtrack?
it's a trap!
And while the Battlefront name would get tarnished a bit by the later EA games not quite bringing back the magic, and by the Classic Collection being an absolute disaster at launch, this game still has a devoted fan base to this day. People who go back just to relive the glory days. And the reason I put this game in this spot instead of Battlefront 1 was for just how much this game innovated as a sequel. And while it still managed to keep the feeling of the all-out war that Battlefront 1 brought us, we got space battles, playable heroes, a story so memorable it's still quotable to this day.
Just like
And of course, the best version of Galactic Conquest that could almost be its own game, and for some reason we've never seen brought back to life. Man, there was just nothing better back in the day than getting together with your friends and starting a new Galactic Conquest that you would never seem to finish. And I have so many memories playing this with my friends and with my brother, and while other games on this list would have a stronger impact for me for playing with a community, this is the game that brought that couch co-op feeling to me for the first time. And for that, it'll always have a spot in my favorite games of all time.
Where's everyone going? Bingo?
That's right. Up next is Resident Evil 4. Now, let me tell you, 2005, boy, that was a sweet year for me. The year of my nerd awakening. I mean, Star Wars Battlefront 2, Star Wars Republic Commando, and of course, Resident Evil 4. And it's funny that now all three of these games are considered timeless classics, but to me, the reason I put this game above the other two is for not only being a classic, but also how it still holds up today almost 20 years later. And hey, while it may be a little campy now with the cliche villains and the plot pretty much following the damsel in distress trope, because who could forget?
Shut your fucking hole!
But it more than makes up for that with quite literally kick-ass gameplay, awesome characters, an amazing weapon sandbox, and who could forget being able to play as the Chad Leon-ass Kennedy himself.
Bingo?
My love of this game and its remake are what inspired me to create this channel in the first place, exposing you all to critical levels of cringe in order to talk about my love for it. So it's safe to say that this has had a pretty heavy impact on my life, and for that, it'll always have a place on my top 5s. Ah, Halo. Now, for this spot, it could have been almost any Halo from CE to Reach, but it's Halo Reach for one specific reason. Halo Reach was the game that brought me into another major milestone in my gaming career. Halo Reach marked the point in my life where I finally got internet and an Xbox Live membership, and it was just in time for the next big entry in the Halo series. Reach now to a lot of people in the Halo community is a bit of a mixed bag. Some people, myself included, look back at it with fondness and love. Others with disdain for being the first Halo to change up the gameplay significantly enough to not feel as much like the classic Halo trilogy. A trend that would continue in every game that would follow Reach. And while there is a point to be made there, I'm going to share why I have come to love Reach so much. Besides just having a kick-ass story that made you fall in love with these characters, the best customization in the series, if not one of the best in any first-person shooter ever, the return of Firefight from ODST, and an awesome improvement to Forge all have a heavy sway, but none as much to me as the community to Halo Reach. Playing custom games with friends on these wacky game modes, building awesome raid maps, and making and playing with new friends were all things that stood out to me at this time. And being at a time where having an Xbox gaming clan was all the rage, me and my brother built up a pretty sizable Halo clan just to play Reach. And it was this community and feeling of belonging that are what made this Halo stand out to me. And while I get that that's a subjective opinion, you also have to remember that this is my top 5. So fuck off. I'm kidding.
I'm pulling your leg. Relax.
But it was this experience that gave me a true love for the gaming community. And so while it's been some time now, just know that if any of you Halo Reach homies see this, you guys know you're my boys. And so I wanted to make sure that y'all made it on this list. Hashtag remember Reach. And finally, the number 1 on this list, and it can go to no other than Dance Dance Retribution. I'm kidding. Of course, it's Dark Souls. Now, I know that's going to be confusing out of all the games on my list, while Dark Souls is my favorite game. And while FromSoft is bigger than ever, especially with Elden Ring and its DLC out now, I can't help but always love the game that started it all. Oh, hey, how you doing, Demon Souls? Of course, no one's forgetting you. And there's so much about Dark Souls to love that it's hard to articulate into words. That's one of the reasons I've been working on its review for about 3 months, a task that's proving almost as difficult as the game itself. But I'll try my best. The world of Lordran, the feeling it creates, and the characters that inhabit it, that feeling of triumphing over a challenge and the obstacles in your way, are something that have never left us since 2011. And then there's the story, its way of storytelling by not holding your hand, but by trusting your intelligence and painting the writing on the wall, letting you come to your own conclusion. That's the mark of fine art, my friend. Also, Shout out to Vadi and Silvermont for explaining that writing because I'm too stupid to figure it out for myself. Another thing is the level design and the connectivity of the map. Something that none of the Souls games since have ever gotten as good as the first, making the world feel actually like, well, like a connected world. And by only giving you the ability to warp around when you earned it, not just as another mechanic. And that made it feel so sweet when you finally got it. It's also the message of Dark Souls that stands out to me, and the idea of going hollowed actually being a metaphor for depression. Shit's pretty tough in Lordran, and sometimes you gotta push through, find your purpose, and keep going in order to accomplish your goals. And that, my friends, is why Dark Souls also taught me an important life lesson. And while it does have some flaws, there's much more to love than hate, which is the mark of a true masterpiece. And something that I'm going to go more in depth on in my review for Dark Souls whenever I may finally finish it. But guys, those are my top 5 games of all time. And now I want to hear you guys' favorite games and why they had such an impact on you. Let me know them down below, and while you're down there, consider leaving a like for your boy if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe to see more in the future. And this is the moment I want to take to thank y'all for reaching my first big milestone, which is 100 subscribers on the channel. Guys, that's so awesome to me. It's amazing to me that that many people want to listen to me talk about the hobby that I love. And I just want to say I appreciate you guys, and I'm excited to see how this community grows in the future. But that's all I have for you guys today. And so until the next time, remember, I'm the Virtual Viking, and I am out.